This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Yeah, it was fun.
I mean,
great memories. Yeah, no question. I have a lot of fond memories of the Andersons. Obviously, Arn is still doing a podcast on this network with Conrad, and
right.
Still one of my good friends who I don't connect with enough. Ole is still living here in Georgia, down in Monroe, Georgia, I believe. Not doing well. Last time I checked.
In a wheelchair, right?
In a wheelchair, yeah. And I think
he has
Alzheimer's or dementia or something.
Yeah.
The last time I talked to him, he got on the phone. He wanted to talk about Danny Hodge.
Wow.
But anyway, it's just I really, really enjoyed my time with Ole Anderson to the point to where Jimmy Crockett used to reference Ole when he was talking to me is your friend Ole Anderson, as if to say, why in the hell is that guy your friend? But he was my friend, and I really got along with Ole. Drove him around a couple times, but as great as the Rock and Roll Express and Midnight Express were, Conrad, you can chime in on this. This run with the Andersons they had was tremendous. This was a run that they had during the Super Summer Sizzler tour. The Rock and Roll Express and Rock and Roll Express and the Andersons on top. These guys could really go, man.
Yeah, and there again, there was not that much talking,
right.
As we said, it's just, Ole would sort of look over at Arn, and you just sort of knew.
Yeah.
And Ole, I spent a lot of time traveling with Ole, and he talked a lot about Mother Earth. That magazine that was published near Asheville. He would we'd stop there.
Right.
He'd go in, and his dream was to go back up to Minnesota and build a cabin and have his own fish and sawmill and never see a human.
Right. He built a house on that lake that is between South Carolina and Georgia, and I don't remember the lake. Lake Hartwell. Yeah, he built a house on there, and when he was working for us, and he came in one day, and he was in bad shape. His back was in bad shape. This was back in the 90s, obviously. And I asked him what was wrong, and he fell off the roof that day. Wow. And I said, can't you hire people to do your roof for you? He said, yeah, but I like to say I built my own house. So that's what type of guy he was, man. He was rugged. He was into nature. He had
and it was cheap. He was cheap.
Oh my God. I've told this story before, but he would say that back in the days that when he would travel a lot and he would get that some time at home, and not much time at home, as you know, with those guys, but he and his wife would go to the drive-in, and they would bring their own popcorn, and they would bring their own drinks and their own snacks and everything, because he didn't want to pay the money for the concession, although he could afford it.
Right.
Yeah. And he told me, well, we were going to TV one time, and I was dreading. So this had to be early when I first came back. He told me by the time it's all said and done, he expected to have like $4 million in the bank.
Not counting the money that he buried in the backyard.
Probably so. Probably so.
I mean, he, the cash that he would work, he did his own taxes. A great mathematician.
Yeah, he was smart.
And he'd figure out, the mileage and receipts and so forth, and would take off the tax. He said, I probably got $1 million buried in the backyard.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He invested in Home Depot when it first came out.
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what, you could talk stocks with him for hours.
Yes, definitely.
Hours. Yeah. That just amazing guy.
And another guy, Sandy Scott, stocks.
Yeah. Right.
He Piedmont Airlines was his.
Wow. How about that? Piedmont, there's a throwback. Piedmont Airlines. A great Carolina-based airline that's no longer with us. Eastern Airlines, another great airline, no longer with us. Remembering all that stuff. All right, so we're seeing a tremendous match here, and the Andersons have focused on one thing, and that's the leg of Robert Gibson, which Conrad's kind of funny because usually Ricky did the selling, right?
Yeah, but everybody knew that of the two, Robert had the bigger leg. So, hey,
all right.
Which leg are you talking about? Never mind. Go ahead, Conrad. Okay.
Here's the hot tag, and boy,
Yeah.
they made it an art for him, and he comes in like a house of fire. He being Ricky Morton.
Yeah.
Ole Anderson, though, not only is he old school and very involved behind the scenes, but here he is, maybe in the twilight of his career, passing on the Anderson tradition and continuing to be a major pillar of the Horsemen. But that's what we saw on TV. Behind the scenes, what was he contributing here in '86? I mean, if Dusty's primarily the booker, what room does that leave behind the scenes for Ole Anderson in this era, Mr. Crockett?
Not much, but to me, it's only with Arn, helping Arn, making him, the Ric Flairs, the Gene Andersons, as far as Ole, he was a great teacher. So that's what his contribution would be at that time. He was a natural bitcher. He would bitch all the time about anything and everything. But there again, totally, I respected him. That I really liked the guy. And it was. Yeah, I guess like you said, twilight of his years, probably so. I think if treated the right way, he could go a lot longer. But I think he got disenchanted.
Yeah,
in some ways.
Well, he was when I returned in 1990. He was booking for Jim Herd after remember they brought back George Scott, and it didn't last long at all.
Right. Yeah.
And then Ole became the booker. Then Ole was just kind of, I think Ole was saying, as long as I've got a job and am making money, and I'm okay. And I know that then he became the booker, and that was a lot of fun for me with Ole as the booker.
Yeah.
But I agree.
He had very good, and he was old school.
Yeah,
old
man.
School booker.
Right. Yep. Maybe, well, it's hard to explain. It's hard to put in the words the Jim Herd era. But Ole was obviously a part of that. And boy, does Arn look like Brock here or what? His son.
Yes.
My God.
I get it. It's a wrestling podcast, but he's saving us money on our mortgage. Do you really trust this process? The reviews don't lie. 5-star review after 5-star review. We make it fast, we make it easy, and it's no cost or obligation. Give us a shot to earn your business. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did, especially if you like keeping more of your own money. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket, so what are you waiting for? Hurry to savewithconrad.com. I'm curious from a hindsight's 2020 perspective. David, I don't know that you ever talked to your brother about the Rock and Roll Express in '86, but when I got to sit down with him nearly a year ago and we talked about 1986, he related a story where he was trying to explain he just didn't understand exactly what they had in the Rock and Rolls at the time. He recalled booking them for an appearance at Hardee's.
Right.
And that it was just miles and miles and miles of fans there to see the Rock and Roll Express. It exceeded all expectations, and they did what they could with the Rock and Roll Super Summer Sizzler Tour. And they tried to release a t-shirt, and they had a fan club, and eventually they had Ricky singing. They did a lookalike contest and a dream date, and they did the bus. But he still felt like there was even more opportunity. And he even talked about, Rock and Roll Express action figures. And of course, at the time, the WWF was making money hand over fist with some of these marketing and licensing concepts. but he felt like if there was a missed opportunity in 86, as hot as the rock and rolls were, perhaps in hindsight, the promotion could have been behind them even more. Do you feel like that was a missed opportunity as well?
Yes. Yes. I agree, because they were at the right place, right time, and so were we with them. They caught on. You know, if you look at them, they're not as big as the Andersons, you know, but their action, their movements, their dress, the younger fans loved them. I went out on some of those tours, and really, the outside, you know, football stadiums, cheerleaders, the whole bit. It was just crazy. And two, I guess what, we did not have enough people.
Yeah, needed a bigger staff.
Right.
Yes, definitely could not do everything we wanted to do with what we had. And it was always we want to do what? You know, hiring people that would buy into it, not just people that wanted a job, people that would actually buy into, you know, the wrestling figures or games or songs, or, you know, there's clothing. We just didn't have it.
You had Frances was doing marketing, but she was also running a baseball team,
right,
as well. So
yeah, and so she had that to contend with,
and she was short-staffed on her baseball team too.
Right.
So, yeah. So it's yeah, I agree, man. You had something. I remember. I think you talked about it too. Carowinds, when they went to Carowinds. Well, Ricky
Right,
talked to
yeah.
we talked to Ricky Morton last week, and they went to Carowinds, and they had to shut down Carowinds and have them come back at a different time.
Tony,
Because
explain what Carowinds is. We got some international folks.
yeah,
that don't know.
sorry. Carowinds is a theme park that is located probably on the South Carolina, North Carolina border, south of Charlotte, around Rock Hill, maybe a little bit north of that. David, you'd probably know better than I.
Like a Six Flags.
Like a Six
Yes.
Flags, absolutely, with roller coaster. And they had a day at Carowinds, and we announced the Rock and Roll Express is going to be at Carowinds, and it just it was out of control, the fans that were with them. So they apparently
it was like a rock band coming in.
yes, that's exactly right. Great times.
You know,
And-
I guess I'm going to interrupt here. I guess, you know,
Go ahead.
I'm listening to you guys that we're not paying that much attention to the match, and
Right.
but I guess you really want to know about the characters, the wrestlers, the history, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't, you know, I mean, listen, fans can follow along. A lot of fans don't do a watch along with us. Some do. But for those of you that are watching with us, Ole Anderson right now is taking the measure of Ricky Morton. And I mentioned that looks like Robert was doing the selling, but here's Ricky Morton being Ricky Morton right now.
Bleeding like a stuck pig.
Oh yeah.
Begging for help.
Yeah. That he used to do that. He used to raise up and look at a girl in the first row and go, help me. And
Bring
it
him
was
to
just-
tears.
Yes, absolutely.
He lives in Bristol, Virginia, Tennessee now.
Yeah. We just talked to him last week. He was a delight to talk to. He was happy to talk to us. And, as you know, all of us has aged, he sounded like Ricky Morton from 1986 to me.
Well, he still wrestles.
Does he ever?
Yes.
Yeah.
He and Robert.
He also mentioned to me he was 65 now. He's lying like a son of a bitch. He's older than 65. I can tell you that. Oh man, the Anderson Spinebuster, which was a tremendous move back then, and Robert had to make the save. These guys have torn it up. I know we've been reminiscing on Ole and the Rock and Roll Express and the years in Jim Crockett back then, but these guys are just tearing it up.
They're putting their time in because we're
Yeah.
waiting for the plane.
That's right.
Waiting for the plane.
Yeah.
I guess you get fan mail as far as people asking questions about the history.
Yeah,
all
the time. That's kind of what brought us, if I'm right, Conrad, you can lend in on this. That's kind of what it brought us to going back and taking a look at 1986 the entire year. Now, there's some fans that don't appreciate it. I get it. Some fans that grew up during the Nitro era, as I call it, and want to hear more of that. But there's a big fan base that remembers this time and wants to go back and relive what's going on. So, and we get a lot of messages on Patreon. That's patreon.com/WHW Monday. And we appreciate all the fans there. And of course, we're out on the Cumulus Network each and every Wednesday as well. But we do get a lot of feedback. And Conrad, I know you and what's his name? Dave Silva, I believe is his name. You and Dave Silva obviously check the social media a lot, and the fans really appreciate this.
Well, it's just good to, especially since we've been watching all of 1986 together, fans really grew up with David Crockett and Tony Schiavone. And now we've got them back together again for the granddaddy of them all. And, a lot of people consider WrestleMania the marquee event in wrestling, and there's no doubt it is these days, but Starrcade actually predates WrestleMania. Mr. Crockett, if you could sort of explain how Starrcade came to be and your understanding of the super show, the mega show, if you will.
Well, you had to come up with something different. Thursday, Thanksgiving, Starrcade was a name that was created to say this is going to be special. Greensboro is always going to be special. Thanksgiving is always going to be special. So instead of just calling it Thanksgiving special, let's call it Starrcade. You're going to see all the stars. And Greensboro was always the hottest market for us, during that time. So, it was a way to catch fans, a hook, I guess you might say, too. And it worked, that you have special mat covers, skirts around the ring, special types of matches, blow-offs for the year. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That would be a good name for it. You blow off a lot of the angles that are created during the year at this event. And then also you're creating other angles coming out of this. You could, just like with the run-ins that we saw with Jimmy Valiant and some of the other matches that, you could come back out with tags, singles, 6-man, and it would just go on and on.
Listen to the crowd here. The Rock and Roll Express is going to escape with the victory. They went 19 minutes and 3 seconds.
Cage gate. Still with a World Team Championship belt. The Rock and Roll Express.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.